Type specimen books are traditional references to preview and select fonts. But today we'll be looking at how two early career designers expand on the idea of type specimen book. Erin Moore's 5 Fonts Inspired by Lesbian Hand Lettering collects letters from late 20th century queer publications. Essence Enwere's Juke Joint features a typeface of their own design, emphasizing the interconnection between typography, Mississippi Delta music and ecology, and African American culture and community. Erin Moore is a printmaker and designer in Philadelphia. Their research-based practice works with found typography and images from queer archives to create artist books, zines, prints, and installations. 5 Fonts Inspired by Lesbian Hand Lettering is a combination type specimen and history zine. The dedication acknowledges the many people who worked on the original lesbian publications, from which Moore developed these typefaces. A lot of information is digested into this short zine. The introduction offers an overview of lesbian and feminist periodicals from the 1970s and 80s. Moore draws a direct through line between these periodicals and this, their own zine. For example, they decided to reso-print this book because of its similarity to the mimeograph, which was the most economical and accessible print method in the era of the original publications. Moore also explained their intention to honor and preserve the hand lettering that appeared in these earlier publications. Each of the following spreads features one of Moore's digital fonts. The fonts are named with the original publication names. Also included are where and when the newsletters were active, an image of the original hand lettering as it appeared in print, and a short historical note. All of this data is paired with a quote from the original publication, set in Moore's digital typeface. Examples of every letter may not have been available in the original hand lettering, so Moore filled in the missing letters to complete the English alphabet. The facts about each newsletter are accessible and compelling. I was intrigued to learn that Ain't I a Woman collectively founded the Iowa City Women's Press after a print shop refused to print a medical self-help supplement for them. When I asked Moore how they selected the featured quotes, they explained that in some cases, they chose one that would complement a fact mentioned in the newsletter description. For example, this quote comes from an article written by Gail Rubin, whose proposition that lesbians join forces with sex workers stirred controversy for the magazine. They also selected quotes that reflect the mission and spirit of the original publications. There's a lot of variety among these 5 hand lettering styles, and I enjoy considering how the letters themselves reflect the eras, people, and ideas from these queer publications. The aesthetic of Moore's zine reflects the pre-digital, cut-and-paste layout design typical of that earlier era. However, Moore created complete digital fonts that are free for anyone to download and use. They took this work even further and made wood type of the Vision font, which they have already put to use in prints and flyers. Moore wants people to use these fonts far beyond the scope of their own project. They are a living archive, offered as an opportunity for people to interact with queer archives and queer publishing history in experimental and educational ways. Based in Minnesota, Essence Enwere is a multidisciplinary designer and artist, focusing on art direction, type design and lettering, motion design, and artist publications. Storytelling through the fusion of history, art, and design is at the heart of Enwere's work. They emphasize bringing physicality to the oral and unspoken aspects of Black culture that are at risk of fading. Juke Joint is a hybrid object. It is type specimen, historic documentation, and Manifesto, integrated into a limited edition artist's book. Enwere designed the featured type, and they titled it Juke Joint Slab. Ecomusicology explores the relationship between music or sound and the natural environment. In Juke Joint Slab, Enwere combines ecomusicology with typographic design. Focusing on the culture and history of Mississippi's African American communities, they designed Juke Joint Slab in response to the connections between the environment, society, and music. We meet all the letters of Juke Joint Slab. I appreciate that Enwere begins with the black weight, which is a common terminology for a heavier version of a typeface. The words thick, bold, and funky perhaps describe more than just the typeface on the page. The next pages offer us environmental and historic context, as well as a practical visual reference about how this font could appear in different layouts, alongside images or on its own. Enwere has passions for Black and American history, music, and writing. Their combined interests led them to Southern juke joints, which were gathering places where Black communities danced and released the weight of their struggles. Enwere keeps us close to the typeface design too, visually breaking down the structure and showing us the 3 different weights. Comparison layouts like this are common in traditional type specimen books. What is less common, though, is the Manifesto interspersed throughout this book. Written by Enwere, this first part looks at the Mississippi Delta's music, typography, and ecosystem. We gain a rich background into the history and ecology that comes together in Juke Joint Slab. Introduced in the early 19th century, slab serif typefaces are characterized by heavy, typically rectangular serifs. Enwere chose to design a slab serif typeface in part because of the intersectionality and complex connection between Black culture and graphic design. This style of typeface repeatedly appeared in uses as varied as storefront signs, church banners, slave auction posters, and album covers. Enwere told me, "I wanted the typeface I designed to honor this history, to be rooted in these connections, and to tell the story of juke joints and Black resilience." The second Manifesto page offers insight into the connected ideas of being collected, cultured, and unbounded in Black culture. Here is an emphasis on and celebration of the interconnected journey of the individual and community. Moving through the book, Enwere narratively weaves together these ideas along with typography, design, history, environment, and music. I feel like I'm holding a multifaceted object, turning it around and over in my hands to see how all the sides connect to create the whole. The first section of the book featured the heaviest Black weight of Enwere's typeface. This last section features layouts using the thin weight. The texts throughout incorporate found lyrics with Enwere's own writings and mantras to bridge history and modernity. Just like the underlying inspiration and goals for the typeface design, the texts evoke the essences of juke joints and Black music, struggles, and resilience. Everything flows together, interconnected across the book, immersing us in many layers. And this, ultimately, is the intention. As Enwere said to me, "I encourage audiences to recognize the richness of Black culture and reflect on the subtle, often unseen threads that shape all cultures. Threads that, when woven together, create profound depth." 5 fonts for Lesbian Hand Lettering and Juke Joint create strong, intentional through lines. In these artist books, Moore and Enwere connect their typographic work with cultural and design history, community, and their own places in the present and future of design.